Welcome to Speed Bump Garage. My name is Kent, and the last thing in the world I really needed was another project, but you guys know I can't pass up a good deal, and this 70 GMC showed up on our local Facebook marketplace. It was about 15 miles from my house, and I just couldn't pass on it. This is a sweet truck. It's got a few issues, but I got it worth the money, and I just added it to the lineup of Fords here. We got two Fords, and now we got a GMC, and this channel may not look like it, but I've spent my whole life as a GM guy. I'm getting into the Ford stuff lately, mostly because the prices are better right now on Fords. Sorry about the wind noise, we'll get this thing inside pretty quick. Fords have been more affordable recently around here in this part of the world. The C10 style trucks like this are just outrageous. They've been out of my price range, but this one came up worth the money. So let's take a look at it, then we'll get it pushed into the shop and get to work on it. Like I said, it was on Facebook Marketplace. I want to throw the picture up on the screen now of when I saw this truck for sale. I wasn't looking at all, but man, it looks good in that picture. And I pretty much bought it over the phone. It was a Saturday night. I actually knew the guy that had it for sale. I didn't know he had this truck. And I called him. I was like, hey man, I'll take it. I can come pay you tonight and take care of it. And he said, don't worry about it. Just come tomorrow. That Sunday after he posted it, I showed up with the trailer. Jack and I grabbed it and we drug it home. I didn't make a rescue video on it or anything because really he's already done a lot of the reviving on this truck. And from my understanding, this truck spent the last 15-20 years in an impound lot. It's kind of been in a junkyard at an impound lot where it was towed at some point, and the guy that I bought it from did somewhat of a revival on it. He's put a lot of new parts on it, and he was just ready to move on to something different, and I stepped up and we made it happen. Now this is a GMC. I do see that it's got 5-lug wheels, which these wheels are not my favorite. These wheels were super popular in the 90s and I never really liked them. My Volkswagen has a similar wheel on it, and these got some corrosion on them. But he did say these tires were new. I love the green. I like the white two-tone on it. It is a long bed, and it does need rockers on both sides, which it did come with new rockers. We'll have to look into putting those on. Pretty good dent here. I think we can work some of that out. And then it's got a crease here over the back wheel. Not too bad other than those little few things. He did just put a lowering kit on this, and something I didn't know. I've owned a couple of these trucks before and they've all had the truck style trailing arms. This one has leaf springs. And he was saying that he thought a lot of the GMCs came with leaf springs. I did not realize that. But also this one has 5-lug, and I think the other C10 style trucks I've owned were 6-lug. He did just put a DJM flip kit on this to lower it. As you can see, she's sitting pretty low. It's also got a flat tire on the other side. And as always, we got that big, heavy Oklahoma bumper on it. Look at this big steel bumper. Now, I don't mean to brag, but take a look at my bumper lineup. Big, heavy bumper on the GMC. Big, heavy steel bumper on the 69 Ranger. And another big, heavy one on the 68 F100. This bumper looks to me like it's almost identical to the bumper on the new truck. They're really similar. Got the kickouts, receiver hitch that sits way up under there. Man, I've got some good looking steel bumpers. Tailgate's in good shape. Got a nice kind of a patina to it. Bed's in pretty good shape. Got another little wrinkle here, and that rocker panel down there is pretty tore up. He did say they were new tires, but I've aired this one up a few times. We need to look into that. It keeps going flat. Little dent here. Need a rocker on this side too. And the front of the fender has some rust issues. Not too bad though. And I didn't love the GMC grille at first, but I'm kind of digging the 4 headlights now the more I look at it. The long bed's even kind of growing on me. It's just long and low, that green and white two-tone. Let's take a look inside. Still running the fuel tank behind the seat. This seat looks to me like a 90s Chevy pickup seat. That bracket looks like it. It may not be, but if I was guessing, I'd say that's what that's out of. It was a air-conditioned model at some point. All that stuff's gone. Floor pans are solid. Inner and outer rockers are just rotten. Let's get to the good part. Some of you may have noticed some electric fans hiding back there. A nice new aluminum radiator. And that's right, a big block Chevy. This is a 454 that just came out of the machine shop. It is fresh and ready to go. This truck has not really been shook down yet. He just put the new 454 in it and a new turbo 350. I think this was originally a small block truck with a turbo 350, but he had all that done, had some issues with the transmission, and decided to let it go. Now, he said it does have a little bit of a cam in it. It's got a serpentine belt set up, and that's about all I know. New battery, which that's about $100 value. All the heat and air stuff's gone, so we're gonna be looking for that. But I'm excited. The big block sold me on this truck. The guy was frustrated. He put the new transmission in it on that Saturday that he posted it for sale, and it's leaking transmission fluid very bad. He said he was just done, get it out of my way. That's where we're at. I have not driven it yet. It's been almost out of transmission fluid since I bought it, and I didn't want to burn the pump up, so it's kind of just sit here. I did hear the engine run. It sounds really good. It's a heck of a good start on a project with a all-new powertrain in it, especially being a big block that's ready to go, tuned, out of the machine shop. All we got to do is tie up some loose ends, and hopefully we can get this thing on the road. He did say he thought it had disc brakes on the front of it, which is nice. Everything else we've been dealing with is all drums. It'd be nice to have some disc brakes and a big block Chevy to make us a little bit of power. Whew, old skid steer made pretty quick work of that. Got the truck inside, ready to be picked up on the lift. I'm gonna call it quits for tonight. It's getting a little bit late. We'll pick this video back up first thing in the morning. I haven't been under this truck yet, so let's take a quick look at everything and then we'll try to look at addressing our transmission problem. I'm gonna start at the outside, and we did see the rocker issues already on both sides. There's a little bit of rocker damage here that I didn't notice with it sitting on the ground. Rocker looks good here. Cab corner looks solid. We saw that this rocker was pretty tore up on the other side. I wonder if maybe that was a blowout. This rocker looks good. Cab corner looks good. Rocker panel is rotten under the door. Fender looks good back here. And then we saw the rust on the front of this fender. Oh, we're missing a piece of trim here. Is it gone on the other side? Nope, we've got it. So we are short that piece of trim on the other side. Not sure how hard that will be to find. I do see that he was correct. It does have disc brakes on it. Looks like some aftermarket tubing motor mounts in there for the big block. New shocks. Fresh big block, as we could see from the top end. Supposed to be a fresh transmission too, but it's definitely leaking. Exhaust needs some work. It stops right there just at the back of the cab, And we got several sections there. I would like to at least run that over the back axle if we keep this rig. Inner rockers look pretty good up there. I wasn't expecting that, but right here towards the back, inner rockers are gone, and then that cab brace is gone too. I need to do some research to see that that's available. I'm sure it probably is. Something else that's surprising, these cab corners are intact on the outside. You wouldn't think that with as much rot as we see right there. Other side looks like the same story. Inner rocker's pretty solid until right here. And we got some rot up here. The cab brace again. And luckily the cab corner's in good shape. And it looks like we've got the two-piece drive shaft. The rear shaft has been painted or replaced. Looks like we got some new U-joints back there. The front U-joint looks old. We've got the DJM flip kit, as I said earlier, and air shocks. He must have had to throw some air shocks on it because it got a little bit too low with that flip kit. But how that flip kit works, this truck originally, the rear end would have been on the bottom of the leaf springs, obviously bringing the axle down, causing the truck to sit higher. To put this flip kit on, you drop your leaf springs down, roll the axle on top of the leaf springs, which usually lowers you 5 or 6 inches. It's a good way to drop one of these leaf spring trucks. Really popular on the square body era of trucks. I think the majority of the trucks this body style are on coil springs rather than leafs. Got the air shocks plumbed here on the license plate. Our leaf spring hangers are not tight. These bolts are hand tight. This side too. That is scary. Right there is a perfect example of why you always want to look these old projects over. That would be an easy mistake to make, and it's kind of scary because he told me he did drive this truck, but I could see how you could make that mistake because he dropped this leaf spring to roll that axle on top of the leaf spring package like we talked. Probably came up here, tightened all this hardware up, forced that back up, got it started, and just never came back and tightened them. Man, I'm glad we seen that. We will definitely get those tight before we put this thing on the road. That could have been bad. Let's see what we can figure out on this transmission leak. So it is a turbo 350, and it is leaking out the accumulator cover, which is right here. Now, I've never removed one of those, but from my understanding, you've got to push in on that, and there's a spring behind it that you're basically releasing tension from a retaining ring that's right here. Now, I think it's leaked enough that we won't make a huge mess when we pull it out, but I'll go ahead and get a drain pan under here just in case we lose some more fluid. After a few Google searches, there is a tool, I guess, that bolts to these pan bolts that will put tension on that to release this retaining clip. I don't have that tool, but I seen where a guy said that you can use a socket and a pry bar. So that's what we're going to try first. I've got my socket. I'm going to put on that. I think I can get my pry bar up here up against the transmission tunnel. Maybe. There we go. Yeah, that's collapsing that spring a little bit. Now, in theory, I should be able to get that ring to turn loose now. We'll have to have a pick or something to get under that ring to pry it up. Stand by. Oh, almost had it. My little pick's not quite strong enough. I'm sure there's probably some type of tool for this. I'm not even sure you guys can see what I'm doing, but try a different pick. I'm getting under it. I just can't get it up out of the groove. There we go. Haha. I don't think you can see it, but I got it out of there. There we go. That little guy right there. I don't know if something's about to come flying out of there or not. Time will tell. Oh, I forgot to get my drain pan too. Please stay. Nothing's flying out yet. All right, back with the drain pan. I'm gonna try to pull that cover. Look at that. I'm glad that I got the drain pan. Okay, so there is a spring behind it. And look at that. That's our problem. Our O-ring is cut completely. Here is the rest of it. Well, hopefully that's an easy fix. Little O-ring right there. I don't know if you can see both pieces, but it was broken completely in two. Let me get you guys out of there and we'll look at what all I got. You can see it here on the table that our O-ring was split in two different places. It had a piece broken all the way out of it, and I could see how that would cause a extremely significant leak. Now the next problem is the O-ring that I bought is not correct. So I'm going to have to run this to town, see if we can find one of these, and I think we will be in business. So be right back. Well, I made it back from the parts store, and I believe we have reached the day and age when there's just not that many Turbo 350s on the road anymore, because I went to all 3 local parts houses. Nobody had the O-ring. I did super glue the O-ring that came out of there apart, and this O-ring is in pretty good shape as far as it's not dry. I was just about to put it in, and I got to thinking about how much transmission fluid costs, and I think I'm going to wait for tomorrow. I ordered the actual new O-ring that will be here first thing in the morning. So for now, let's go ahead and try to fix the rear leaf spring shackle bolts that were loose, maybe give the truck a quick once over, and then we'll pick this video up on day 3 of trying to fix the transmission. I think I'm gonna start with giving them a little PB blaster so those bolts maybe turn a little bit easier. Got my sniper can. Oh, that one don't want to turn from the bolt end. Have to do all that on our wrench side. Hey, me either. AJ just said he's never went on a ride in this truck. We'll drive it soon enough. This bolt turns, so it ought to go a little easier. What, bud?
What's that?
Ram. I got that one. I noticed this truck's bouncing a little bit. As long as this old thing is, I think I should probably put a jack stand under the back of it. I don't know if that was exactly necessary, but this thing's got a country mile hanging out past those back lift arms. It does have the big block counterweighting on the front, but I feel better because it was shaking a little bit. Let's get the other side done. Whew. You guys didn't know I was that fast, did you? That baby was smoking. I think the next thing we'll look at, we'll try to figure out if we've got headlights and taillights, because tomorrow I actually have to work at my day job. So by the time we get this thing together tomorrow, there's a good chance it's gonna be dark, and I would like to drive it. So let's see if we got headlights. AJ, you wanna give me a hand?
Yes. The bottom one's dead.
No headlights though?
No big headlights.
Nothing up here. You said the bottom ones did come on for a minute?
Yeah. Oh, they just did.
The headlights are on?
No, the orange ones are on. The orange ones are the ones on.
Are they on right now?
Yes. I'll check on the taillights. Keep that holding.
Okay.
Taillights are working. So the orange lights and the red lights work, but so far none of the big lights.
The headlights never came on at all?
Never.
Well,
just orange lights work?
I'm not sure what's going on there. Well, the reason I wanted to check those lights with it in the air, I saw some questionable wiring under it. I was not expecting the taillights to work, but they do. I don't know if our turn signals and things are going to work, but I think we will definitely have to let it back down to try to figure out what's going on with our headlights. That's odd. AJ said they didn't come on at all. I cycled the high and low beam. Still nothing. I guess we'll let it down, try to figure out why we don't have headlights. So our headlight switch is here. We've got a dimmer switch on the floor. Start checking for power. I don't know if I can get to the back side of that switch or not. Things like this. I wonder where this is going. Little dome lightage maybe? Well, if it's going to the dome light, it's not working. Oh, maybe that's a fuel sender. So we go green to brown. Yeah, that's what it is. Fuel sender. We're figuring all kinds of stuff. So this green wire is our fuel sender. I don't know what those are. We'll figure that out later. Right now, we need to see if we got headlights. Check this old school trailer brake controller out. We've got an actual brake line as a signal line coming in the cab. This is a hard line with a double flared fitting coming up here to the trailer brake controller. That's pretty cool. I haven't seen anything like that. So I'm assuming whatever this wire is, we can get rid of it. It looks like it's going outside because I don't foresee us needing trailer brakes on this rig. We got one of our 4 headlights on. I don't know if that's high or low beams. The dimmer switch was the main issue. The switch is bad and the pigtail going to it had some really hot spots. Got a jumper wire in there right now. So this blue wire here is the power coming to your dimmer switch, and then green and brown are your high and your low. I'm not sure which is which. Our brown wire is turning one headlight on. Could be a bad bulb. I don't know. Let's switch our jumper over to the other side and see what we get. This pigtail's in really bad shape. Look at that 4 eyes. I'm hoping that that is the low beams. That'll be enough that we can drive it. I'm really digging the 4 headlights on this rig. Park lights, 4 headlights. Looks like I need to come up with a dimmer switch and probably the pigtail. I think we'll be ready to go. I'll pick this video up tomorrow. Again, it won't be morning, it'll be when I get off work. But we'll pick it up, fix the transmission. Hopefully we'll go for a ride. Day 3, and I have the accumulator cover O-ring, and I even grabbed us a dimmer switch. So hopefully we can get those headlights working. I got my new O-ring, and I cleaned up the cover really well. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put the O-ring on the cover. I'm gonna put just a dab of grease on it just to try to keep it in place. Hopefully that'll help it go in a little easier too. Maybe we can keep from cutting it like it was before. All right, the spring is still in there and seated. I am not sure you can install that with it on the cover. Let's see if I can set the O-ring in there. There we go. Almost need an extra hand for this. So I need to squeeze this ring and hold pressure on that. Try it now. Golly. Get in there. Oh, it went. Did you hear that snap of success? Yeah, baby. We are in there. Snap ring is seated. Hopefully our leak is fixed. I'm gonna go ahead and throw a gallon of transmission fluid in it. I know this is a Rotella jug, but it says ATF on it with a Sharpie, so I think it's true. It smells like training fluid. Let's see if it's red. Oh yeah, definitely transmission fluid. I think that's got us where we should fire it up and see what happens. I did just spot something here. our vacuum advance on this distributor. This is HEI style distributor. Is not hooked up. I don't see any hoses that look like they came off. This one's going to the transmission, I believe. This one's going to the brake booster. I'm guessing that guy wasn't hooked up. We may have to tee into one of those lines and get that hooked up. But let's fire it up and see what happens. Squeeze in here. Give her a couple pumps. Impressive. It's probably 45, 50 degrees in here when she fired right up. I'm hearing some valve train noise and I just remembered I have not checked the oil in this truck. Definitely got oil in it, that's good. Wipe the stick off here and see where we end up. I definitely think we're good. False alarm, fire back up. Well, I don't think we have any back brakes. I just put it in gear to try to get the converter and everything to fill up with transmission fluid, and the back tires just took off. Mashed the brake to the floor, they kept spinning. I don't know if you heard that, I bumped it to neutral. Tried to let them slow down a little bit. I stuck it in park and the old park sprag and the transmission drug a little bit, but no back brakes. Hopefully we got front brakes and maybe we'll have a burnout machine. Definitely does not have a stall converter. It died. Well, I love it when you can push one in and drive it out. Look at that. 1 gallon did it right on the money. Now he said the cam and everything on this engine had been broke in at the machine shop on the run stand. I'm still a little concerned about our vacuum advance being off the distributor. I need to pull the cap off that distributor and see if the weights are locked out on it. Maybe they've got fixed timing on this, which isn't going to work very good for street use like we're going to use it. But I guess another thing we could do is put a timing light on it and see if the timing's moving. But I'm ready to drive it. So let's drive it. We'll dig into the rest of that stuff later. Load up.
Woody? Hey, hold this.
Get in.
Dang, we're gonna love this.
We got a regular wrecking crew now. Got AJ and Woody in here. Of course it's got a black ice air freshener. What doesn't? Get that out of the way. Got our fire extinguisher, as we always try to bring on our first shakedown. You ready?
Yes.
We're just gonna take it for a quick ride. I don't know how much gas it has in it or anything. Maybe. Maybe it has no gas in it. She's a little loaded up. Dang, we even got a working tack. It's got a little tiny tack on the column. It's hooked up too.
Hand me my goldfish. They're right here.
AJ brought snacks. Regular bag of goldfish.
No rainbow.
not a fan of the way this truck sounds. It's got those old, I didn't even look, they look like maybe 40 series Flowmasters. Don't really like it.
Where's the horn?
I don't think it has a working horn. We'll have to fix that. Well, we're gonna get to ride off in the sunset today.
It doesn't have seatbelts.
No seatbelts, we're gonna go slow. I want to mainly just make sure the transmission's shifting. I don't really want to shake it down too hard.
The gloves aren't working.
Oh yeah, they are. Speedometer's working. Looks like the fuel gauge is working. We got about a quarter of a tank. If the oil pressure's working, we got a lot of oil pressure. Transmission shifting good.
We're also going to have seatbelts.
I smell transmission fluid, but I hope that it's where we leaked a little bit from that accumulator out on the header. I don't know if our temp gauge works, but it's still hanging pretty low. All 3 gears. Got a little backfire here. I think we need to go hook up our vacuum advance. Brakes work decent for not having back brakes. Nope, definitely no back brakes.
Not good.
And it made it all the way back to the shop.
And no windows cracked.
It does have a cracked windshield.
Yes. What happened to the windshield?
I'm not sure. Looks like it's been cracked for a long time. See how it's got those bubbles?
Yeah.
It did look like the fuel level gauge was working, oil pressure was moving, coolant temperature moved a little bit, electric fans kicked on, speedometer was working.
You know what would be cool? If these worked and we had a big radio, like bigger than that.
Yeah, that would be cool. Let's get out, finish this video up. Well guys, I decided to back the truck back out because look at that beautiful Oklahoma sunset, and doesn't this old GMC look great in it? I do notice now that it's outside that our rear end's sitting a little bit lower than our front. We definitely don't want that, so we'll either have to bring that front down a touch or maybe just get a little more air in our helper bags in the back. That's all we're gonna shake this truck down today. I wanna get some of those mechanical issues lined out before we're too hard on it, because I really don't wanna hurt this big block. That would be a lot of money if we hurt that engine, and we don't wanna do that. Make sure you're subscribed if you like this sort of thing. I'm excited about this truck. Like I said at the beginning of the video, the last thing I needed was another project, but how cool is this truck? I couldn't pass on it. I can't wait to bring you guys along for the ride. If you see something on the truck that we missed or maybe have some advice for it, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. And I appreciate you watching. See you on the next video.